While bullying is a pretty popular subject to treat in manhwas, rare are the ones that manage to truly shock and turn the actions into extreme acts of violence. But Save Me is such a work as it has a high chance of making you uncomfortable. I found myself covering my mouth in sheer horror at some of the scenes. But here, you won't find warmth or coming-of-age stories. This is a dark, psychological read which centers on revenge. The plot follows Hyungo, a disabled student whose school bullies treat more like an entertaining animal than a human. This manhwa isn't your typical bullying story, as it combines many different elements from various genres. A school system like that of Kakaguri, an intense and slightly insane gambling manga, the high-stakes intensity of gambling, and the bullying brutality and violence that you can expect throughout this recommendation list. The story centers around Gunwoo Dan, an enigmatic high schooler who, after transferring schools, immediately dives into the established system of gambling, political alliances, and high corruption centered around money and power. As he stares death in the face at the edge of a building, Dajun comes to the realization that there is another way to end his misery and despair. Not by ending his own life, but by finally standing up to his bully. At first, he thinks that his new state of mind might save him from a couple of beatings, but he soon finds himself falling on the other side of morality, becoming obsessed with the idea of revenge. As he gets stronger, his retributions only intensify, with the limits of how far he's willing to go slowly fading away. In this manhwa's world, the Korean schooling system has become filled with loopholes due to its inability to reform bullies and delinquents. Now, the Educational Correction Committee has the right to send its members to diverse schools in the country to fix various bullying issues, by all means necessary. The story follows the MC, a teacher belonging to that committee, as he integrates schools for the sake of mental and physical reformation. The problems he solves are unique, and he does not hesitate to use both wisdom and cruelty to solve them. Although Lim Sejun is fat with a very large physique and loves to eat, his personality doesn't fall into any stereotypes, and he's quite content and happy with himself. He goes through life enjoying school with his only friend, a girl called Seo Ha-jin, who has been defending him from the occasional bully since childhood thanks to her jujitsu skills. But one day, after Hajin helps him out with a delinquent who has been terrorizing his class, she becomes the target of a mysterious group that traps her in an alley one night and assaults her. She's found unconscious with a broken leg, a severely beaten body, and high psychological trauma. Depraved of his only friend, Sejun embarks on a quest for mental and physical retribution, taking on jujitsu from a mysterious trainer. This isn't a story with an OPMC, as he quite literally goes through the trial and tribulation of mastering a new sport as the story unveils. Although I'm not usually a fan of overpowered main characters in bullying manhwa, this one incorporates that trait without being illogical. The story follows Kang Hyuk, a high schooler whose brother died at the hands of a gang of extremely dangerous and violent bullies. After meticulously crafting a plan, he enrolls in school intending to take down this group whose organization resembles more that of the mafia than that of high school bullies. Although victims often like to fantasize about their future life, imagining it to be much better than their bullies, the truth is that often, that is not the case. This is the realization that Jinwoo Kim comes to when he meets his bullies as an adult who is barely able to make ends meet while they live a life of luxury. As he tries to run away from them, Jinwoo unexpectedly falls to his death, cursing them with renewed passion as he meets his end. As our creator is forever omnipresent, he decides to answer Jinwoo's curses, sending Ancheol Jung, the bully's leader, back into the past. Ancheol doesn't wake up in his own body, though, but in that of Jinwoo. He must now live through high school, experiencing everything his victim did, including repeatedly getting beaten up by himself. As Kim Jae-han was planning to pick up his daughter Da-hyun from school, he suddenly got hit by a truck and died. Instead of moving on to heaven or hell or getting reincarnated as a mosquito, his spirit lingers on, incapable of letting go of his daughter. Now that he doesn't have a full-time job and no apparent bodily function or needs, he makes it his ghostly purpose to protect Da-hyun from all the bullies and very questionable male characters that go after her. One day, as she is on the verge of getting abused, Jaehan finds a high school boy he can suddenly possess. Controlling his body, he runs after Da-hyun's bullies and makes a complete fool of them until they make a complete fool of him. And so begins an odd story with lots of beatings, inappropriate situations, and odd behaviors. After constantly living in fear and anxiety, So-yoon's mind is on the brink of collapse, and he finds himself contemplating the idea of death. But as he is about to take a plunge into oblivion, his mind fractures and gives birth to a split personality. In a single breath, he suddenly becomes two people, a fearful and empathic individual and another one with a lust for blood, violence, and retaliation. Nicknamed the School for Future Criminals, Yusung Technical High isn't exactly the ideal place to study. A rarity among his peers, Gamin is a student with just one goal: to get into university. In a place where it's every man for himself, he is rejected from countless study groups before he decides to form his own. When Hank-yong, Gamin's former tutor, joins his high school in hopes of earning her teacher certification, it seems like they're both reaching for the impossible in a space that promotes beating more than it does learning.